Um, Blythe, let me call on you first as the town administrator, and you can sort of direct the flow of traffic after that, okay?
Sure. So both Chief Stone and Matt Hafner, Director of Facilities, are here in their respective roles. I asked, the chief and I spoke earlier this morning about him joining the meeting because I think it's important for you to have his perspective on possible enforcement of the order you're considering, and understand how Norfolk Police has handled things that are not dissimilar to this over the years and their mindset, because I don't want to have you pass something and have an expectation that might be different than what his expectation is for all of our officers. And then separately, Matt has taken the lead on working through all of the things that we believe we're going to need to do to operate a safe work environment when we have everybody back to work, when that's allowed, rather than the kind of switching off with working remotely and working at the office. And then their safety for our employees, as well as what's going to be expected of the public when they come in. So he started a group that's figuring that out building by building and space by space. So that's, we don't know exactly when we will be able to, reopen and have people back in the building, but we're working to be prepared for that, whether it's town hall, the library, and so on. So that's where I start. I don't know what you wanted to focus on first. But that's why we're here.
Thanks, Blythe. Well, the reason why the meeting has been called is because we were contemplating the town passing an order which would now, in fact, because of what the state has done in the last few days, be redundant, in that the idea was in any public space, if people are unable to stay more than 6 feet apart, the order says they should wear a mask if they're more than 5 years old. So unless there's a medical reason why they can't. So that's what's on the table. Now, the question of enforcement of that is something that is certainly worth talking about, because I don't think any of us on the board had contemplated the idea of pulling in the Norfolk Police Department as part of the enforcement on this. It was really meant to be more something that we hope people would do, and that people would be reminded of the need to do it by, for example, posting signs in the entrances to the public places in town, which simply would say, hey, look, if you want to come in this store or this town hall, you need to wear a mask. And frankly, not an awful lot more than that has been discussed. But since we have the chief enforcer with us, well, Chuck, would you like to provide your own thoughts and experiences on this topic? You're muted right now.
Oh.
There we go. I'm getting better at this slowly, but
We all are.
so in reading what you submitted, I noticed that there's not a fine for people who get too close in talking within the 6 feet. I see it for at the very tail end. Blythe pointed out to me this afternoon that there's $300 for it, but it reads to me for a business, not for the individuals. So I guess we're the typical type of enforcement we're going to get. And Proto has come to me and said, can we go down to the rec fields and to the ball fields at the schools, and can we just check and make sure that they're all wearing masks? And we could do that, but if they're exercising or walking or doing anything like that, they don't have to. They're out. If they're more than 6 feet apart, they don't have to. If they come upon someone, get within 6 feet, then that's when they need to put the mask on. So I can relate this to another part of our business. And you all know that we have a pretty decent traffic enforcement program. It's been one of my things for a long time. Going back for the 44 years that I've been working on the PD, we always gave the residents a verbal, a written warning, and then we issued a citation. So I don't see any of that in there. And in talking with all the chiefs this morning, we had a Norfolk County Chiefs meeting at 9 o'clock this morning on Zoom. So it's my third one today. Not getting any better at it, but still. What they all talked about was that we need to be able to give our residents a chance to address the issue. And no different than the speeder, if they come back at you with attitude, well, you might change how you handle it. So, and you know, we have our ways of fixing those issues sometimes, but that's kind of where I am. You have it for business. So who's going to go? Are we supposed to go? Are we the ones going in, or is it Betsy that's going to go in? I just mentioned that yesterday to Betsy. Oh, good. Betsy's going to go out and enforce this. She's going to write citations, check all the businesses, and stop people on the side of the road. That'd be great. She goes, no, not happening. So it's impossible for her. I have 3 people working a shift, so it's not our highest priority, I got to tell you, but that's where I am.
So could I ask specifically what we're talking about? Do we have something written that we are discussing, or are we just talking in generalities?
Really?
Hi.
Well,
Yeah, I'm in the basement at work because I couldn't get Wi-Fi in my office. So sorry, just all sorts of.
We literally just.
I got some friends over here.
Who you got?
We have Zena. And
Oh,
we have her brother, whose name I forget. They're not my dogs, but we're spending time together. All right, that's my day. I'll lay down.
so are we talking about something specifically here? I can't hear you, Tom.
oh, he's muted. Hold on.
Oops.
There we go. Sorry, I just unmuted you.
Okay, I'm on now?
Yeah.
All right. What we're talking about, Fran, is the one of the iterations of what was, essentially gleaned from the Bellingham order and modified a bit to fit Norfolk, which does have in it that $300 fine. I think it says up to, it doesn't say the first one has to be, at least I hope that's what it says. But I'm thinking, frankly, in terms of enforcement, when the governor first proposed this, and I think even more recently, his description of the enforcement process was one of, reminding people, please do this. And generally, people tended to not break the law after they were told that they were doing something wrong, especially if there were possible sources of masks nearby. They just put one on. I don't think we're going to be putting out any fines. In fact, I'm not even quite sure who'd be responsible for doing that. This is a, public health issue, more than, well, it's safety too, I suppose. Maybe both of our departments are involved in it, Chuck. But the idea was to simply remind people. I mean, the signs on the doors, frankly, I think are probably the most important thing we can do. Just put it into people's minds that this is something that they should be thinking about, and giving the proprietor of whatever the business is, a little bit to stand on and say, hey, look, when somebody is not wearing a mask and they're in a small space, to go to that person and say, the sign on the front door says you're supposed to have a mask on. Could you please put one on? It's just meant to be a little extra reinforcement or backup to what right now is a requirement from the Commonwealth. And we are, for better or worse, the boards of health are considered to be the front line when it comes to enforcement.
So I agree with you, Tom. I think that asking retail establishments and certainly our town hall and library when they get opened again, to put up a sign if face masks are still required. That's the most important thing. I'm not, I,
Sign from Wakefield.
so actually that's wrong because it's all individuals over 2 years of age is what the current governor's
Yeah.
directive is. So that would have to be changed. But something as simple as that, I think would be appropriate. I've looked at some things, suggestions, and I'm not in favor of us fining retail establishments because they're not telling people that they can't come in their stores.
I didn't think it was the retail establishments that got fined. I thought it was the people that got fined.
Well, the iteration that that we were looking at from Bellingham says that the business, it says.
Betsy, can you call up this?
Businesses,
the
local
draft?
businesses not adhering to the requirements of the emergency order, local businesses will be subject to fines of $300.
All right.
So we don't, I absolutely don't think we should do that. The governor's order already says that if you don't wear a mask and you're closer than 6 feet to other individuals, you could be fined $300.
Right.
That's what the governor's order is, but I don't want to start fining retail establishments because they're not enforcing an order.
Yeah.
So,
And I also thought that the provisions for I thought the mask was for people that were children that were over 5, and then 2 to 5, that was the parents' discretion.
right, exactly.
The requirement is 5 and over.
Yes.
The 2 to 5 is more like an advisory. Yeah, you know what? I can see now why the chief and also Fran have pointed out something which I think we need to take out. If we're going to even do this, we should probably take it out. And that is at the very bottom of this document, if you can scroll down a bit, Betsy, the $300, I had the impression $300 is what is up to a value that would only be for the offending party. I suppose a business owner might get in trouble if the people who worked for the business owner were also disobeying this order. But I can see how that would be a problem. And you know what? Now I see where it says Board of Health officials and police department. I think that's also going beyond what at least I was thinking of when we first put this together. And maybe should have looked a little closer at that last sentence. Because I didn't want to bring in, frankly, the police department on this if we didn't have to. It was really supposed to be something that was based on reminding people of the importance of doing this. If you happen to come up against, some kind of hard case that didn't want to listen to that and was simply refusing, maybe at that point, a policeman might be required to settle the dispute. But that would be a pretty rare event, I would think. In fact, Chuck, would you tend to believe that to be a reasonable assumption, that if people are reminded, this is what the state says, this is what the town says, why don't you be a reasonable soul and do it?
Yeah, my opinion is, that's what's going to happen. Most of the time, we had 2 incidents already since this went into effect. One was a delivery person going to a store, and the delivery person was not wearing a mask, and 2 or 3 people who were going to make use of the store were wearing masks, and then they got into it with a delivery guy, and it got a little crusty outside the store. They had to be separated, and then the couple of the residents came down and gave a report at the station. So that was one. We had one other one with 2 people came upon each other. I think it was at Walgreens, and the one person was staying too close to the other, and they got into it there. So we ended up going for that. That's not what I expected we're going to be doing in this business, but it is today's world. So, but the one thing about your business reference, it's like the last paragraph,
Yeah,
$300. I look at it, number 2, it says every store must have a sign 8.5 by 11. Well, to me, that's where their enforcement part goes. And as store owners, along with trying to get everybody to buy product from their stores, they now have to add to that, can you please wear your mask? So, sometimes that dissuades people from wanting to shop there, but they should be wearing it for their own health. So, I don't know. I just want you to look at that. That last paragraph to me relates to number 2, but in number 1, there's nothing in there that says anything about enforcement for the average person for not wearing a mask.
Right.
yeah.
But if you don't want us to be involved, Tom, I'm happy to go home right now.
Well, you know what? From time to time, the Board of Health needs backup. I mean, for example, our visiting nurses sometimes have issues in knocking on front doors of, people's houses. And there comes a time when they're going to pick up a phone and try to reach your shop and ask for a patrolman to come by and come to the door with them.
Well, hopefully we're going to have staff after July 1st to do that. So.
Stop.
All right, so we see the need to modify that paragraph that we're all looking at right now so that it's clear that the onus is on the person who is not wearing the mask. And that's not clear at all from that way that's worded.
Personally, I'm not happy with number 3, 4, or 5, actually.
Yeah, they're read it out right now.
Yeah.
I put in your changes. I think they're good changes. I just wanted to show that so people can see we're kind of evolving here, that there's the need to do this.
How would we just ask? I mean, we only have a small number of retail businesses in town. If we design the sign, like the one that is in the one that Betsy showed, and just sent them to them and ask them to post them as a public health, I don't know, we just wanted them to tell the public this is what we would like them to do, then why would that not be enough? Then all of a sudden having this order that could be taken. I mean, I don't, businesses, are they going to feel like they have to be police officers? People, they want people to come into their stores. They don't want to be telling people not to come in.
Well,
So
the same
do it in a
point.
friendly way rather than an.
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea here is that we're protecting their employees.
No,
because-
their employees are already being protected by the governor's order that says that anybody working in, it doesn't make any difference whether you're inside or outside. So if you're working in a place and you're less than 6 feet apart, you have to wear a mask. So the governor's order is already there.
Yeah,
That's what my understanding of the governor's order is.
right. This is just an additional sort of awareness. Think of this as a PSA. What we're trying to do is say, all right, guys, as you're coming into this store, there's a little sign there that says you should have a mask on if you're coming into this store. And it's a benefit, I would think, for the person inside the store. Everybody inside the store, the customers, the people who are working there, they're all going to benefit by making sure that everybody who comes into that store is wearing a mask.
So we have to have an order. We just can't send a mask and say, as for public relations and for public health, we'd like you to post this on your door. And then if they didn't, well, maybe then we'd have to have an order, but.
you need the order to have some standing for asking them to post the sign. But if it ends there in terms of enforcement, okay. We can
mean,
go with
I had a,
that.
I had a couple of instances that I had emailed Betsy about over the weekend. Now that was before, you know, the order became an order on Wednesday, but let's say my husband had gone to Dunkin' Donuts, went in, everybody was wearing a mask, another customer wasn't. But then out in the parking lot, because it was a really nice day, there were about 10 people on motorcycles who had pulled up to kind of hang out. They were not social distancing, they were not wearing masks. I thought that was inappropriate, but didn't want to get into an altercation. I also went into a store in town to buy a lottery ticket, and the store owner was not wearing a mask. So, I mean, and so what, I don't know what to do in that situation. Do I call, what do I call? Do I call the Board of Health and complain? Should I have called the police?
Call the Board of Health.
Right. I mean, that's my point, right? So what do I do? Stand out and go, I'm on the Board of Health and you people aren't wearing masks and you're not social distancing and I'm going to get my ass kicked, you know? So I don't know. I didn't know what to do. So I mean, and I think that there's a lot of, you know, people with different political beliefs who don't think this is a thing. And I think that that can be part of what's going on as well. So I mean, yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. And I think we should be very clear about what we're asking people to do. But then the question becomes, what if they don't do what we're asking them to do? How do we handle that?
Yeah. Well, Fran's wording in number 3, it says if a customer refuses to wear a mask or cloth face covering for non-medical reasons, wait a minute.
No, that's correct. A business may decline entry to the individual. This is
Yeah.
directly from the governor's
Yeah.
Right.
order.
So this is basically saying it's up to the person who's supposed to be wearing the mask. And if that person does not wear a mask, well, they may not be served in whatever this establishment is,
Mhm.
or, you know, may not be able to make a purchase or whatever it is. That seems to be a completely appropriate kind of action. If the you know, the folks who are running that store, you know, want to protect themselves and the rest of their customers, it seems like a pretty reasonable policy to put into force. So I'd like to think that what we're simply doing is making it possible for the people that, you know, run Walgreens, for example, to have something more than, yeah, you know, see somebody walking around without a mask and being irritated by it, but not really feeling that they can do anything. At least now they can point to the front door and say, hey, look, there is a rule here that says you're supposed to be wearing a mask. Would you please put one on?
That all sounds, I mean, I don't mind the way this looks. I don't have a problem with everything else that's here on this order, except putting the onus on the retailer, which is what it says.
Let's get beyond that. That paragraph has got to go. All right.
So then there is no, so there would be no fine. Who's the fine? Who pays the fine here? The individual that didn't wear the mask, which the governor's order already says, right?
That's what the governor's order says. I believe that is the person
Yes.
who is breaking the law, that is the person who is going to be fined.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I'm not sure what y'all think about it, Eileen and Fran, but I'm ready to take that $300 paragraph out of there.
I was hoping we had taken it out already, but that's okay.
Well, this is the first time we're talking about it, but we can certainly get rid of it.
Yeah.
Tom, if I might,
Yes,
going like to Eileen's point, if she went into the Dunkin' Donuts and say it was the Norfolk Dunkin' Donuts in the center, and there was 10 motorcycles there, and they were all reasonably close to that distance, and maybe they weren't. Maybe they're standing next to each other. To me, the correct method would be for her to call the the station and we'd send someone down. She could say, hey guys, don't forget to wear your masks and see what happens. And usually if we got a call, we'd go there and say, hey guys, come on, you got to wear a mask. That's the rule. You know, you're not 6 feet apart. Go and just have a discussion with them. And it's typically how we handle anything, whether it be a noise complaint or, you know, whatever it might be. They're all the same thing. We can kind of handle them the same way. And just let them know, listen, all right, this is your verbal warning. Next time it's going to be, you know, a written warning. The following time will be, you know, $50. It doesn't have to be 300. It says up to.
Hmm.
And I've seen that in some other towns that there's $50 is as high as they went. Some other towns in the Norfolk County, we talked about that this morning. So, you know, there's other ways to handle that. But I would never tell Eileen to put herself in danger and go over and start waving a finger in the guy's face, because you might get bit off, you know. Get a biker gang with the colors Hell's Angels or something, you know. Might be something you don't want to get into. But then there's the other thing, is just to walk away. You know?
Yeah. So I did speak to one of the business owners today about the possibility of additional requirements specifically for the town of Norfolk, above and beyond what the governor's order says. And this individual, he said, you know, I don't want to discourage customers from coming into my place. Like, he did not want to be the police officer by saying, don't come into my store. So he said he would do whatever the Board of Health asked him to do. If a sign were if we asked him to put up a sign, he would do that. But he doesn't want to talk about trespassing if people say they want to come in, and then he just wants to continue his business, keeping it safe for everybody, but not being the enforcer.
Yeah. Well, let's all get on the same page then and say, fine. We're not asking him necessarily to, well, he's not being asked by this order to be the enforcer, except for putting up a sign on his front door. That's the enforcement that we're asking of the store owner. After that, though, we are asking the store owner to put a mask on. Now, if you were talking to somebody in a store today who wasn't wearing a mask, guess what? They're breaking the law.
That's already determined, like I said, by the governor's order. So
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
if the person you were talking to today, was he wearing a mask or she wearing a
Yes,
mask?
was wearing a mask, yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
wanted to make sure that it happened, because the other day I was in some of these stores and the owners were not wearing, or the folks that were working there were not wearing masks. Today they were. So I think the point has gotten across, and I think it would be helpful to have a sign up outside their doors. That's
Okay, well, that's essentially the only enforcement. If we take this paragraph out, all that we're really asking of our fellow citizens, besides wearing a mask, is for the owners of public places to put a sign on the front door.
Mhm.
Well, and number 3, you're telling the business owner that he should decline entry to the individual.
Yes.
And there's probably a different way to handle that. And it's just probably, hey, the next time you come in, would you please wear a mask so that we comply with the Board of Health order? You know, there's softer ways to come instead of quoting chapter and section and fines and all
Yeah.
that.
Well,
So there's softer ways for them to get the point across.
well, the replacement text says the business may decline. Doesn't say they have to.
No, but that gets it into that confrontational.
Yeah. Well, it's back to, what does your officer do? I mean, the first time this happens to the business person, they may say, hey, look, you know, next time they come in, you're really going to have a mask on. If that's the way they enforce it, that's fine. Doesn't say
That'd be
they have
the
to,
first
but
time.
fine. Pardon me?
Certainly, if we had an officer, that would be his first time response.
Right.
And if the guy, you know, gave you a lip about it, and then the second time he shows up, okay, we might handle a little bit differently.
Yep.
If the same way, yep, we might handle a little bit differently. But you know, progressive.
Well, without detailing all of that, all we say right here is may decline.
Okay, and my point is, the business owner is in business money, and you're putting him in a position where he's got to tell a person. So, and that's fine by me, because, you know, he wants to remain in business. In order to do so, I'm sure that some of these stores get inspected by the Board of Health at some point. So
Mhm.
they want to stay in good with you guys, so.
I mean, I just suggested that sentence in blue because I didn't want to have the whole sentence because I thought that was really putting a lot of pressure on the business owner. And this particular sentence came from the governor's order. I didn't make it up.
Right.
No,
No,
I
it's-
didn't.
But we don't have to have that in there either if you think it might result in confrontation. You know.
Well, it's giving the business owner a tool, and it doesn't say he has to use the tool. It just says, you know, as Chuck was describing.
But they already have the tool because it's in the governor's order.
Sure. Well, we could, in fact, take that sentence out. It was your sentence, Fran. I thought you kind of liked it. But if you
No,
think-
I did not like, like I said, I wanted to take out number, whatever is in red, that was what I wanted to take out.
Yeah,
Because I think that it's really putting the business owner at a disadvantage that they don't want to be in, to be an enforcer, you know, to talk about trespassing, because people aren't.
yeah.
repairing.
Well, that's
And
gone.
so, and I just thought, well, if we were going to put something in, at least let's put in what I'm guessing people have vetted through the state because it's in their order. But we don't have to put that in at all either. I'm just thinking what we want to do is our goal should be to ask the retailers, business owners to put up a sign to remind people, let's keep a safe distance. You know, the supermarkets have gone to, you know, they're doing so much. And the small businessmen, they can't afford to do what the supermarkets are doing, but let's just suggest they go one step further, put up a sign reminding people. And I think it might have even talked about distances here. Did it talk about transparent guards? That was going,
So the number 5 is social distancing, but the end of paragraph 2 or number 2 actually states that the sign on the door states that a mask or facial covering is required while inside the facility. So I guess that you don't think that gives the business owner enough leeway to point at the sign and say, hey, you're not supposed to be in here without a mask on, without having to put that extra line in. I mean, I guess that's the way I would read it.
yeah.
Well, that's the real reason. That's why it's there. It just
Right.
provides a reference point for the business owner to say, look, it's right there. You see that?
Right.
And also as a reminder, you know, maybe there are some people who need to be reminded. And maybe they'll try to get away with it the first time they see the sign, but they'll have a mask on the second time they come in. So Fran, am I hearing you say you would prefer that number 3, that whole paragraph just go away?
That would be fine with me.
How
Sure.
about you, Eileen?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Could I try an alternative to that? Just leave that the way it is, but insert that the business owner may try to achieve a compliance with the governor's order, but in an event has the right to decline entry to the individual.
Has the right to, as opposed to simply may?
As, you know, by the governor's order, the rights that you can decline entry to
Okay,
the
so just
individual.
reference-
But that puts it out, it kicks the can down the road. He's going to try to achieve compliance by asking him to put a mask on. And then if he doesn't, then it's progressive, and then you may decline service or
Yeah,
entry. You know, I thought about it today, Tom. The last 2 days I've been wearing the mask, and leave it on my shifter in the car while I'm driving because I don't like, it restricts the breathing. But as soon as I get out of the car, I put the thing on, and then it's possible that someday I might forget and have to go back to the car. If the guy told me, "Hey, did you remember you forget your mask?" And oh yeah, you're right. I'll go back and get it. It's all those things are possible, and you just got to give a chance to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the simplest, from our perspective, point on this one would simply be to get rid of that paragraph, and maybe have a discussion with a proprietor that says, "Hey, look, it's up to you how you feel about this. If you want to make sure the people who aren't wearing a mask are reminded, you could tell them, hey, look, the Massachusetts order says that if a person doesn't put a mask on and refuses, you have it within your rights to decline their business."
And I think I'd like that to be, if I was running a store, I'd make that my second or third sentence. My first one is, hey, don't forget to wear a mask, and see if we can get achieve a compliance that way.
Okay.
I'd go with whatever the police chief says.
You always obey the police chief, right?
Exactly.
Good strategy. I think it's very wise.
But it doesn't look like it's optional for them not to put up a sign, the way I read that.
Well, no, the sign was supposed to be in front of every public place.
It says required. Well,
Required. Are you saying the sign should be optional too?
no, I think the sign should be on every door.
All right.
They're like the Norfolk food mouth, both the doors you might enter.
And I actually still liked number 5 because I think that I thought I actually emailed Betsy about that. I think that we should continue to keep the social distancing as much as possible in the order.
And if you go into Walgreens, the food mart, I'm trying to think of where else I've been, the pizza shop, Linda's Variety, there's tapes on the floor, and pretty much everybody's staying to those tapes. Somebody's got out with a tape measure and put down duct tape somewhere and marked it. So it's pretty clear. And a lot of people are doing pretty good at doing that. So.
So that part of ours is actually being implemented, it sounds like. I mean, I think it was taken out because it was considered to be some kind of a burden, but apparently not.
Go into Walgreens, you'll see the tape on the floor. So, and I don't think I've been anywhere else. Post office, everybody stands back a ways.
Yeah.
Not even going into I've been to in the post office, I had to mail a package, and a lot of people standing outside, only one person in talking to Gene. So it's like, come on. So what I've been in another time was one person at the desk and one at the counter. But they have all the spaces are measured out so you can't get near anything. A lot of them putting out those hanging plastic signs.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So Eileen, your recommendation is to put could you put that back up again? Betsy, is it number 5?
Yes.
I think I'd leave 5 in there. I would, but that's just.
All right. So your recommendation is to leave number 5 in.
I would.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll agree with Eileen.
What do you think, Fran? You okay with number 5?
Well, it's just that in number 1, we talk about in public places in which they are unable to do not maintain a distance approximately 6 feet from every other person. So we're already talking about the social distancing. I don't care. It's fine, because right here, apparently number 5, you want people to mark on the distances, 6-foot distance.
Right.
I know this particular place I went into a couple of places, and they're the small convenient marts, and they don't have tape on the floor. Some of them, I'm not sure they have even a 6-foot distance, but they don't have tape on the floor. So you're asking them to put tape on the floor, which I guess
Maybe take out that just the the last sentence, clear markings of such distance shall be visible. I don't know.
Well, I think all you're trying to do here is help people do the right thing,
Right.
the right distance apart. And sometimes you have to help them. It's like speed signs on the side of the road. We try to help you go the right speed limit, you know, and that's by design. So here we have a marking on a floor, which is going to help them stay in the right distance. Some people can't judge depth.
Mhm.
Aren't those signs just suggestions?
Well, when you drive, see it, that's correct.
I just didn't check.
More like guidelines, right? Yeah. Let's not go there.
Tom, could I jump in for a minute?
Sure.
I just want, Matt's joined us about, what he's doing about town buildings. And this is a great conversation, but I know he's got an obligation to get to.
Okay.
I just
Sorry,
wondered if you had any quick questions for him or something that you wanted to ask so I can let him get off to where he needs to get to.
Well, Matt, yeah, you've been very patient with us, and I apologize for ignoring you.
No, don't worry about it,
But
We all ignore them.
the question, I guess, is what are your challenges, or what is it that you would like to see from the board, if anything?
Well, my challenge is we started a small committee today with building leaders, the leader of the director of the library, director of the COA, town hall. We had a lot of different personnel involved with it, trying to get different people's opinions and create a standard operating procedure as far as traffic through the buildings, as far as safety, personal protective equipment, as far as shielding. So right now we're trying to figure out a lot of things you guys are talking about. One of the items I hear you talking about significant a lot right now is the markings, and one thing I'm looking at doing is purchasing some markings to give guidance throughout the town buildings. They make relatively inexpensive things you can stick on any floor that'll last up to 6 months. We're probably going to buy 10 packs of one that's pretty, you can just measure it out, and for a 10 pack it's like $12. So they're minimal expenses, which might be easier to do than tape, and they won't be damaging. But we're just trying to figure out what it's going to take to what our operation is going to look like moving forward, with staffing, with building openings, with everything right now. So we're in the early stages of just trying to figure out what everybody's operation is, and making adjustments and trying to accommodate everybody to make everybody, as far as town workers and the citizens that we're going to be dealing with, as safe as possible.
Can I ask one question? Is there a plan to open up the senior center?
Not as of right now. That's the one building. It's not my decision to make that, but that's the one building I know it's as important as it is. I hate opening that building because that's the most that's a really hard building, because how it's set up and the business that's conducted there, as far as playing cards, and it's a lot of very close meetings going on over there. So that's going to be a really difficult one on how we can enforce social distancing. As far as staffing goes, I have plans on putting on a Lexian or a plexiglass shield at the front entranceway, so it would protect the staff. But I don't know how we could have a card game 6 feet away, or how we could have a sewing or workout. Well, the workout might be the only thing that is good, able to accomplish. But that's all stuff we're looking into. And director and I were just talking before this started, is that the Meals on Wheels program, I believe it's called HESCO, I'm not sure. They're looking to come back and start preparing lunches a couple hours a day, 5 days a week, using our kitchen over there. So that's going to be another challenging accommodation. So we're trying to look at everybody holistically right now and figure out, kind of create a standard operating procedure for town employees within I'm going to call it non emergency employees, such as, like, we're not talking police and fire because they have their own protocol, but just as a general, all the different departments kind of have a basis, so we all are under one understanding, and then tailor it to each operation.
Mhm. Okay, thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt?
No.
Okay,
Thank you, Matt.
yeah, thank you for being with us.
And I had one. How about the library?
The library, we got Libby O'Neill, Elizabeth O'Neill, the director over there. She's been working. We work together on that as well. And she's been working. She has a board of trustees. She also reports to. We're trying to come up with, again, standard operating procedures, employee protection. I don't know exact operation dates, and they are planning on opening. I don't think it's going to be citizens in the building at first. We're also going to look at doing staggered days of or staggered hours of shifts that keep people away. They are planning on trying to reopen their operations and maybe do curbside. They have a lot of different plans in place. They're trying to see how feasible they are and what we can do to support their staff, to have their staff support the town. One thing I've done is Lexan and polycarbonate plastic are the new masks of today, where it's becoming impossible to get the materials to make the sneeze guard. Town Hall, we have a plan. We've talked to everybody in Town Hall as far as, well, most everybody, as far as plans to protect our employees with the Lexan or polycarbonate across their counters for the departments that deal with the public, mostly on the first floor. We're going to figure out how that works for everybody, and areas like everybody be aware of, like where Betsy's at, where you also have the treasurer collector and the building department, trying to figure out how we would have a traffic pattern in there, looking at different entrance ways, exit ways, where there could be conflicts where the Board of Health and the building department are with the people on the exterior of it. So we've kind of had a big brainstorming session, and we're all have instructions to kind of think about some of the finer details. And we're meeting again, I believe next Tuesday is the plan as of right now, to kind of look at the operations again at the buildings that are not emergency, because the thing with the police and the fire is they are segregated from the community, and there are items that we have to do there. They're in a completely different operation, and the only other one that has public in it really is the DPW, but where the public goes, it's minimal. There's a doorway and there's counters in there. We are planning on doing some sort of Lexan, because they have counters without windows. So we're trying to figure out a way to work on those as well, but we're going to try to do the ones that have the most public in them first, and really come up with a solid plan to move forward safely.
Okay, Matt. Any other questions for Matt before he goes? All right. Thank you. Appreciate
Hey,
your time.
Fran, excuse me real quick. Fran, could you have your husband give me a text tomorrow, please? On another committee?
Sure.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe we should, maybe we should start at the top of this and hit 1, 2, 3 and see which ones we want to keep and which ones we don't. I mean, are we at that point? And then seem like we're jumping all around.
Well, we're cutting away here. Sure, we can certainly do that. Blythe, do you have any sort of general questions or comments you want to make?
Nope, I don't. I just wanted to make sure that we were here to support you.
Well, we do appreciate that. We very much appreciate the people taking time out of their days to help us with this. I'm getting a sense that there's support for this idea, at least for the front door sign. It's simply another tool that we have to kind of remind people to do the right thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if the governor's office, they've got a task force that's working on these things. I wouldn't be surprised if some of what you're thinking about is going to come out in future orders. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I mean, if they're talking about protocols for businesses to open in the future, I'm guessing they're going to have some specifics around that. So I don't want to stop you from the work you're doing, but I'm just kind of curious whether it will be duplicated later on.
Well, to that point, one of business owners that I was speaking with said, why weren't we doing this 3 or 4 weeks ago? And I think to your point, you know, the state is trying to take care of this huge population. And I think it's important that on a local level, we might, you know, implement things a little bit faster just because there are less of us to make decisions. So I think
Good point.
this is a good thing to do.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Fran's idea is probably a good one at this point, to just kind of go down the list and make sure that the things that are on there are the ones we want to have. Yeah, right now that 2 has got to turn back into a 5 if we want to say shall wear. I'm not even sure if shall is the right word. Maybe we should
Isn't it
must
2
wear.
though? I think it's 2 years old.
But it said between 2 and 5, it's the discretion of the parents.
Yes.
So somehow, maybe we should just use the same
I'm
language that the governor's order has.
looking at the governor's order. Which is,
It does say over 2,
any person over age 2.
but that's been changed. I don't know, it's not changed, but interpreted differently, because I agree with everyone else that we've heard between 2 and 5, it's at the discretion of the,
I think they may have, I don't know, enhanced this or done something to it since it was first passed on May 1st, because
right.
I know today they were saying 2 to 5 is more advisory. After 5, it's requirement.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. It changes all the time.
So maybe we can, you know, adopt that. Well,
It's not stated here, so that's the problem. I mean, if we just go back and say older than 5 year required, that is aligned with the Commonwealth order. It just doesn't go quite as far as the Commonwealth does in advising parents to get their masks for the little guys too.
well,
No jumping.
I thought that we had to say local boards of health could be more stringent than the Commonwealth, but not less stringent. So we're gonna, I think we have to say at least what they're saying. I mean, right now, what we have in front of us of the governor's order that I printed out the other day does say 2, but I know I've seen it somewhere else that it's 2 to 5. I just don't know how we should word this to be in compliance with the governor's order.
Can Donna add something?
We can look it up somewhere. I want to get stuck on it.
Can you hear
All right,
Donna?
we may have to do a little homework on this to see if there's a new wording.
I'm looking at the governor's order online, and it's 2 years old. Yeah, Donna wanted to had something to say.
I went to a mass.gov page for the info details. And towards the top, it says mask and face coverings on May 1st, governor issued, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a link for the order, and there's another link for the guidance.
Mm-hmm.
The guidance is where it says about the kids between 2 and 5.
Okay.
2 and 5 is left up to the parents' discretion.
Yes, I got the same thing. It's called Guidance for Wearing Face Masks in Public Settings, issued May 1st, 2020. That's exactly what it states. Children under the age of 2 should not wear face coverings. For children 2 years of age or older, a mask or face covering should be used if possible. mask use by children 2 years of age and up to the age of 5 is encouraged, but should be at the discretion of the children's parent or guardian at this time.
So,
Well, that's a lot of detail. I'm not sure we have to
Yeah.
have all that in our order. I mean,
I mean, we could say something to the effect, any person at age 2, see the governor's order for guidance. I don't know if you want to do that.
Here, all right, here it is.
well, we could copy that for children 2 to
Yep.
5.
Why not?
Why not?
Cut and paste. Okay,
All right.
I would be in favor of that.
Okay.
Okay,
So with that addendum to item number 1, then can you bring us back, Betsy, to the page we're working on? There it is. So we're going to make that change in item number 1. I was tempted to suggest we might want to also say something about unless unable to because of medical reasons. Maybe that's already in what we're going to be pasting, but we should say that somewhere. Because some people, for whatever reason, are unable to wear facial covers.
I mean, this whole guidance document it says exactly the same thing. I'm trying to figure out if I can mail this to everybody, but I'm not doing such a good job.
I got it right here.
Because it basically states everything. It talks about social distancing, who shouldn't be wearing a mask.
Well, if it's all in the state document, I'm not exactly sure if we have to repeat every single word.
I agree with you.
We could certainly,
Can't we just use that?
or reference it.
Well, I'm not, referencing I think is dangerous because people don't bother to read it. So I think it should be.
Well, no. Yeah, yeah.
I just emailed it.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, so Eileen, your proposal is to put in the guidance piece of the state reg right here.
I can't know if I can get to my email from here.
I think it.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, we still have Chief Stone on the line here. I don't think we're necessarily going to be doing anything that's a lot different than what we've already talked about, except for this business of the guidance and details of who wears a mask. Is there anything else you want to pass along to us, Chuck? But you got to plug in your unmute button.
All right. I think I gave all of my points. I mean, you just got to cover individuals, and if it says up to $50, that would be great, because I'm going to have a hard time telling anybody to cite somebody for $50 unless they're given a hard time back to the officer or the store owner. So
Yeah, that paragraph is going, so
yeah, I heard that. That's
don't fret the 300. Otherwise, you're okay with this?
yeah. The other thing you have to do, and I think you already know it anyways, is you got to authorize us as agents of the Board of Health. Otherwise, we don't do anything.
So Betsy, Norfolk PD is not an agent of the Board of Health?
For the purpose of this order, you have to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
So otherwise, it's all Betsy.
She's tough. Can handle a biker. All right. Thanks for that suggestion. We'll have to put that in here too, or put it in somewhere in our operating documents. All right, so we're going to embellish number 1 to give it a lot more detail. Number 2, is that okay except for the last sentence, which is gone? You okay with that, Fran? Eileen?
Yes.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
All right. 3, I think 3 is gone at this point. As is 4. But number 5, we're going to put back in. Because for one thing, a lot of store owners are already doing it. And, you know, sometimes people got to figure out what 6 feet looks like.
But I do agree that 1A actually does state the social distancing thing. Again, kind of referencing this guidance for wearing face masks from the state, kind of the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, we could potentially just use that. I don't think that'd be inappropriate. It doesn't say anything about the sign. So maybe we could start with the, you know, that would be the sign that we're requiring would come in maybe after that information from the state.
Uh-huh. All right, and so then after the sign is there, you're saying that the social distancing is defined and the need to mark the workplace is already in the new number 1?
Yes.
Okay. And does that also talk about the idea that all of the establishments providing takeout, or no, it's not takeout, whatever it says down there. The drive-through, the counter service, is that all covered in the state document too?
Now, again, the state document is just about the face masks in public settings.
All right, okay.
Again, I think we can use the first part of that as taking care of number 1.
Yep.
I think it's a good document. It's well written, and I think that I think we could usurp that.
Okay. All right, so 1, but 1 you also said to cover number 6 too, the social distancing part.
5. It doesn't, it just
Oh, 5,
says,
yeah.
it just says, when unable to maintain a distance of approximately 6 feet from every other person, then you have to cover your mouth and nose. Again, agreeing with Chief Stone, I don't think it's inappropriate to reiterate that later
Okay,
in the document again. Again, I understand how some of the places in town are pretty small, and other than some of the larger facilities might have difficulty finding 6 feet. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
So you're saying leave 5 in completely? Is that what your opinion is? Because it's
Yeah.
not, I don't see it in the governor's executive order, but.
Again, the executive order is different than this guidance for wearing face masks. So Betsy, I think, just emailed that to us. So if you can pull that up, that's where I'm looking. But yes, I guess I think that 5 is still a good idea, especially because Chief Stone thought it was a good idea.
right.
I'm on board.
Okay,
So
I'm on board.
That's it. Yep, there you go. So I think using the fact, I think in our document, using the entire document, starting with on May 1st, the governor said we have to do this, you know, down to, I would stop it right before the fit of the face covering should be as
Mhm.
followed. And I think
Yeah.
washing instructions is superfluous as well.
Mhm.
But I think that those first paragraphs, we could just use that.
Sounds fine to me.
So begin with any person and end before we get to
No,
the.
I would actually start with on May 1st. I would start with the beginning of the document saying this is an order by the governor.
Oh. Well, that's kind of.
I think
yeah.
that adds a little gravitas to it. You
Well,
think that's too much?
It's actually referenced in the new version of this where we say whereas on May
Okay.
1st. So that can go there.
Okay,
This also says this guidance is issued. The second sentence of that.
Yeah, the second
that
sentence we
paragraph,
want to leave out.
Yeah, I think we just want to start with any person.
Okay,
Makes sense.
So we can reference, the order from the
Yeah.
state in the
Which you
whereas
did.
section. We already do.
Right.
So, all right, so any person down to before the fit of the face mask, that's going to become our new number 1. And so after
Good.
that,
Okay, good.
we now go down to number 5
Number 5 is fine.
and number 6.
And number 6, we're requiring transparent sneeze guards to be installed. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Can we go back to ours again, Betsy? There we go. Can you scroll down a little bit? Okay, 6 is, I think, okay. And
and we think that they're going to be able to obtain disinfecting wipes and hand sanitizers.
well, that's a good point.
I think I had emailed Betsy that question as well. Just saying, I know how difficult that is right now. Some of us have, I have plenty, we have plenty, we've been able to order stuff, but I think that some places may not be able to get it.
Yeah, the average grocery store is not going to have it.
I make my,
Uh,
right. I'm gonna comment
Uh,
about that.
Hmm. I don't know. I'd like to leave it in. What do you think, folks? Fran? You want to leave the sanitizer reference in?
Maybe made available. Why, I walk around with hand sanitizer in my pocket. Why should that be the responsibility of the retailer? I mean, I think they should be cleaning up, after people use their equipment, but I'm less inclined to say that they have to make disinfectant wipes and hand sanitizers available.
for staff, I don't know.
Or staff.
For staff, I mean, they're not going to provide it for the public, but
Well, it doesn't say that. I think there's guidance from the governor about what has to be available, actually. Somewhere on there's so much on that website that employers have to do for employees. So if that's what we're talking about, I think it's already there. Do we want to reiterate it? I don't.
Well, if we leave it undefined,
Mm-hmm.
it could be interpreted almost any way a business owner wanted to. I mean, certainly the people who work in a business should be able to have access to hand sanitizers and disinfecting wipes. If you go to the counter and Walgreens, there's a little bottle right there if you're picking up the prescription.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I don't have a problem leaving it in and let it be interpreted however anybody wants
yeah.
to.
And then we have the next little piece is about you can still drive your car without one. It can be on your own property or within your own shelter group without.
Face mask.
We'll need to figure out when it's going to go into effect. I guess when we get the signs made up.
So are we going to make the signs, or are we just going to require the businesses to post? I really like that friendly sign that says thank you for wearing a mask,
Uh-huh.
as opposed to don't come in here if you don't have the mask on. That
Well, hold on, I did one. I actually did one from Norfolk.
You did one for Norfolk? Oh,
You
you did. You're
certainly
so
did.
good. So,
Oh, that's a little different, isn't it? Thanks for your patronage.
yeah, this particular retailer that I spoke with, he would appreciate this, but don't come in here if you don't have a mask on. So we could provide them. I mean, just a laminated piece of paper. Is that a lot? I don't know. I'm not the one that's doing the work, Betsy. You tell me.
Just so you know, I'm not in the office until next Thursday. So
Okay,
that
that answers that.
question. So
I guess we can't, could we ask them to print it off of, could we somehow notify them? I don't know. I just like this. We could make it available on the town website, I guess, so that they could print it.
Are we going to change the 2 to 5, or are we not decided to do that?
Yeah, I think we should make it 5. Are required. That would be
Yeah.
over 5.
Yep, that would be 5, right? So how could we, I mean, if everyone agrees that they think this is the way to go,
I think it's nice. I think it's pretty friendly.
but then how do we get it to them?
So where are we
Usually-
posted? Where are we posting the Board of Health guidance? Maybe we can just have a link to it wherever we're posting that, and they can download it and print it off themselves.
But then they still have to know, unless somebody shows up and tells them, unless we need to contact them somehow.
I might suggest you mail them each a copy and ask them to put it up or make additional copies laminated if they want to. I mean, that's the price of a stamp. Or email it to them if you have their email addresses.
So
That's a good question. Do we have email addresses for all the businesses in town, Betsy, or do we? should ask Blythe?
so I have for the food establishment, most of them I do. I don't know what other businesses you want to include.
well, everything
Oh, we
that's
have liquor stores.
liquor stores, convenient marts. Is Dunkin' Donuts open?
Yes.
So it could add up to several, right? Could be 20,
Yeah,
up around 20. So,
And again, as things start to open, I would have to believe that we are there. The government is going to be requiring face masks as things continue to open over the next few weeks.
but at a minimum, we could start with this, and then
Yeah.
people can make their own signs. We're not requiring them to use this sign.
No, not at all.
We're just suggesting that they might want to use this sign.
right.
So could we get that out by a certain period of time?
Well, if we have email addresses, because we do give out, permits for food establishments and the grocery stores, what that leaves us with are who else is doing business in town that's allowed to be open right now? Liquor stores.
Convenience
Anybody
store.
Who?
Convenient.
Convenience store. the
Yeah,
variety
but
store.
we've already licensed them, so we know who they are.
So then we could just email everyone.
How about the post office? Of course, they've already probably got everything.
Mm. It wouldn't hurt, for sure.
Tom, can I jump in for a second?
Go ahead, Blythe.
So if it's something that you'd like to put on the webpage, I can work with Betsy or with Ton and figure out how to get it on your page and mention it on the homepage if that helps. And I would also suggest that the assessor's office can quickly put together a list of businesses. I know we pulled one together earlier this year when we were considering a plastic bag ban. I think we came up with 43 businesses that we thought used those. And, we sent them a mailing on that. So, I mean, yes, there's some postage involved, but if you wanted to go out to businesses, I'm sure we could come up with a list for someone and then, that mailing could get done.
Do you have email addresses or just postage?
No, those would have to be, that's simply from assessor's records. That would be mail.
Yeah,
We don't have any more email addresses up here than Betsy does, because we license the same people, food establishments and those with liquor licenses.
mhm.
Do you guys have need of, I hate to leave a meeting, but do you have need of Chuck and I for anything else?
No, I was trying to let you off the hook a little while ago. I guess I didn't do a very good job. So,
Well, I don't want to be rude, but if you don't need us, we'll go along.
you are not being rude at all.
Yeah. Thank you for your insight, really. Thanks.
So we
But
appreciate
I'd
it.
be happy to, update. Today's update on the website does mention the contact tracing does, made the face mask thing a little more prominent. So hopefully people are following those.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay.
we could get this information out somehow.
Yes. So if you want to let us know what you'd like to do, we'll help you do it.
Okay,
Okay, thanks, Blythe.
great.
Thank you. Good night.
Good
All
night.
right. See ya.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.
Be safe, Chuck.
Thanks.
And we can put it on the Norfolk Community Facebook page.
Yeah, I'll send it out right now.
What are we sending out?
We could send out our guidance document. We could send out a copy of that.
Well, we're
The,
supposed to compose that.
Mask.
What are we calling this then? I mean, have we agreed that this is all ready to go and it's going to be an order requiring, it's the title is going to be the same? Right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. So then what we're taking out is just the fine and the effective date is what? Is it tonight? Even though we're not getting it to anybody. It can't be because we're asking people to put in sneeze guards and everything and marking not their markings would be a lot, but a sneeze guard is certainly something.
Yeah, are there any businesses, I wonder, around town that right now don't have that?
Yeah. I know of one.
Okay. It has a counter. but
It has a
doesn't have a
counter
sneeze-
and it does not have a sneeze guard.
Yeah.
But
Well, I wonder, is that part of the new order from the Commonwealth?
mm, I wish I could remember. I looked at what the grocery stores are required to do, and I think they have to have something. So I don't know if a convenient mart is considered a grocery store. Anyway. But we're saying it's required. And
Well,
There was also a good paragraph in this guidance document from the state about exceptions for wearing face masks too. So you could actually, there are 5 bullets there that we could just use. I know you had some concerns, Tom, about who may not be able to wear a face mask. So there is a paragraph about guidance, who should wear it or who might not be able to. People who need to lip read, people who have breathing problems.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think rather than replaying every single word that's in there, when you get down to that level of detail, maybe what we should do is reference, for exceptions, go to, something like that. It may make more sense than reproducing however many lines that is. I mean, we could put it in, I suppose, cut and paste, but it just makes our document a whole lot longer than it needs to be.
yeah.
Uh,
We're cutting out so much.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of one-stop shopping too. So if it's going to make a page out of item number 1, well, as long as it's not much more than that. Or maybe that can be like an asterisk, and then you go down to the bottom to find out what the exceptions are. Hey, Betsy, could you send us all the links that Eileen is looking at right now? Just to get the,
Eileen, are you looking at the guidance?
Yes, and
Oh.
it's the paragraph that's under the fit of the face coverings. So we can skip that one because I don't think we have to know about fitting. And then it has a paragraph.
emailed that to you. I emailed that to you guys.
Yes, and then
Okay,
the paragraph that talks about exceptions for wearing the face masks.
so in terms of everything else that's in our document, except for leaving out the paragraph with the fine in it. If everything else is okay, we just got to figure out a time to give people an opportunity to respond to these requirements. You want to say middle of next week? Something along those lines. If we can get this information out. It's going to require a little coordination with Blythe and Betsy, but if we can at least let them know.
I'm leaving. I'm gonna be away until Thursday.
You're away. Okay. When you
Away.
said you weren't going to be in town hall, I thought you were going to be at home. You're going to be away.
I am away.
Ah.
No internet service.
All right, maybe we need to call on Blythe then for the addresses. We need to contact these folks.
I can get everything out. I can work tomorrow and try and get if we can finalize this.
Well, we can put together, if we can all agree to it.
Yeah.
What it's supposed to contain, where we have this expanded version of, you know, who wears the mask, who doesn't have to wear the mask. If that's all number one. Cut and paste that from the state regs. I think everything else we know about right now. So if we can get that information to the businesses tomorrow.
Get it to the businesses tomorrow? You think we can?
Well, if we have their addresses.
A lot of yeah, a lot of it I can. Okay.
Okay.
If they get it tomorrow, maybe give them a week to respond, so it'd be next Friday. What do you think about that?
Why would they have to respond?
They got to put the sign up. They got well, they got in some cases get a sneeze guard installed.
Which, and that may be difficult. Again, like what Matt was saying, is that those are very difficult. So we're actually looking into doing that here at the animal hospital. Right now, we're not still letting no one in from the public. We do our curbside service. So we go out, get the animals, bring them in and talk to the people on the phone.
Yeah.
They're expensive. The only place we've been able to find them is on Amazon. But the problem is that the delivery can be out another couple of months.
Right.
What is the sneeze guard as compared to just a plexiglass shield?
You can't get anything. So these pieces they're plastic and they have some kind of a stand that they sit on and you just rest them on the countertop, or there's a little slit underneath where you would slide your credit card or your payment through. But they just kind of basically rest on a counter. I think they actually had them at the post office. Before they'd wrap the place in plastic, but now I think they're using kind of these plexiglass things, but they're actually difficult to obtain.
Well, I think the folks down at Provo's Liquor made their own. From what I could tell, it looked like a homemade job.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, I think that we should still shoot for Wednesday to make it effective. And if somebody can't get it, we're not going to, close them down for it. Hopefully they'll work on it just like you're working on it.
True. So I guess how will they know? How will they know that we're not going to just march in and say, hey, you don't have a sneeze guard. You have to close the doors.
Well, maybe somebody will walk in and say, where's your sneeze guard? But that doesn't mean we're gonna close them down. Why should people?
Hmm,
Well, I mean, with that, with what you're saying, if it's that hard to get something like this, then it could be 3 weeks. Who knows? Should we
Right.
do it then that long, or should we just take this out, which I don't want to take out? I think we
No,
should.
I certainly understand. It's just, again, it's there. So there's no hand sanitizer, there's no webcams, there's no plexiglass sneeze guards. So, you know, I'm saying a lot of this stuff has already been sucked up out of the supply chain.
mhm.
So if people haven't planned ahead, and maybe they have, but I would have to assume that many places have not, or have tried and can't.
Well, another opportunity here is if in fact this is already something which is required of businesses by the state, one thing we could do is simply take it out.
I was trying to figure out whether it is required by the state.
Well, I mean, keep in mind that the title of this order has to do with facial covering. And this is actually gone beyond that.
Right.
So one could make the argument, hey, number 6 shouldn't be there.
Yeah. I'm gonna find this. I had all this last night and now it's gone. Okay, so grocery stores. Guidance for grocery stores and local boards of health on March 25th.
Well, folks, what about the idea of simply removing number 6? Because this is supposed to be about face masks anyway.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea, but I certainly do agree with Fran that it needs to be addressed at some point in the future as we become more open.
Well, we certainly can do that. And let's hope the materials are available for them to do it. I mean, these things are being installed as we speak, so somebody's figured out that this is an important thing to be doing. I'm just trying to figure out whether it's in response to a regulation or whether it's just common sense and needing to protect their employees. But for right now, let's just take it out.
I think that makes the most sense for what we're trying to accomplish. What is our goal? To get signage up and to ensure that people are wearing masks
Right.
by putting the signage up. We
Yep.
can always add this in 2 more weeks. I'm not.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. You okay with that, Eileen?
Yes. I'm
All right.
still keeping the
All right.
internet.
So 6
Okay.
is going.
Okay. Okay, so we'll get those signs out somehow to all the retailers.
And for the effective date, 7/14,
14th,
14th next week, Friday.
the 13th.
No kidding. Is it Friday the 13th?
No, it's not a Friday. Wednesday, why are we waiting that long? If Betsy
Right.
says she can get it done and we're giving them the signs, we're just asking them to post these signs. Why are we waiting?
So you want to do it middle of the week?
I'd rather do it on Monday, actually.
Monday?
Oh, but they
Okay.
might not get their mail on Monday? I don't know.
Yeah, they might not. How about Tuesday? How about
Tuesday.
if you, Wednesday, for whatever reason, it's not a bad. What did I say originally? I thought I tried to make it the middle of the
Try to
week.
make it Friday. Or the 14th, you said.
No. The original What does it say on this? I can't see it
Oh,
now.
I think it says the 11th.
Is,
What?
it's Monday, right?
No, it actually says
It
tonight.
says Monday, Monday the 11th.
It's Monday, the 11th.
Monday the 11th.
You want us to go with Monday the 11th?
Okay, let's do Monday the 11th.
All right.
Will that work, Betsy?
Can these get mailed out on tomorrow?
I guess so.
Yeah, they kind of gotta. Because if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it's not gonna happen for a week.
Right.
So I think it has to be tomorrow.
So do we need to still
Yeah.
go to the new document by tomorrow?
We don't even have a document yet, actually.
Well,
Well, we need to redesign number one. And if you send the, I mean, I can, by first thing tomorrow morning, I can send around, or even later on tonight, the modified version of this document right here.
Mhm.
And y'all take a look at it. Sure I didn't mess anything up. And then it can be reproduced tomorrow morning.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
Okay.
Do we need a vote on this or something?
Sure. Is there a motion to do what I just said?
I make a motion that we establish an order requiring facial coverings in public places with signage for retail establishments and other public buildings in the town.
I second that motion.
All in-
Without, is there further discussion needed? Did you catch that, Betsy?
Mhm.
Okay, excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Effective date? Oh,
It'll be, if it's as written, which is what it's going to be, it'll be Monday, May 11th.
okay, great. Okay.
All right. Is there any other new business?
The only other thing was, well, not the only other thing. Yeah, the only other thing was Wade's regulations. If that is all ready to go.
Yeah, yep, so we've finalized that. I'm going to, Wade made those amendments that you had asked.
Mhm.
So the only thing is we have to change our June Board of Health meeting. I was gonna schedule the public hearing for June. I have a conflict. I've got a planning board meeting on the 16th. So I was wondering if we could pick another date.
Do you have any suggestions?
Do you want to do Thursday, the 18th?
When is the election?
I don't know what, oh, the election is the 23rd, June 23rd.
Okay. The 18th. Looks to me.
Oops.
Betsy, Eileen, is Thursday night bad?
Not unless it's 5 o'clock, apparently. I'm like, oh, I think I have a meeting. So yeah, I can do it later. I was still seeing office appointments. I'm sorry.
Tom looks like,
I have a little problem with the 18th, I'm afraid. I gotta be someplace early in the morning on the 19th, some distance away. Is there any other day that week that might work? Like Wednesday, maybe?
Eileen, depends
I
on
work late on Wednesdays, but I can
Hmm.
do my best. I can try to get, this is early enough that I can probably cross myself out of a couple of appointments.
So
I can probably do 7.
7?
Yeah.
On the 18th? I mean, on Wednesday, the 17th.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's okay.
7 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, 7 PM, good. Okay, let's see how this all shakes out. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna grab bite to eat and then recompose this and send it around, okay?
Yep, the only other thing was the signage. Everybody was okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it looked good.
Yeah, love it. Okay.
Okay. Let's see about getting those.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work, Betsy.
All right, thanks.
Okay,
All
All
right,
right, guys, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn the Board of Health meeting on May 7th it is.
All right,
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye. Okay. Thank you.
We are adjourned.
all right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.